the wing is done. Let's go ahead and start working on our fuselage. Now this is another reason I chose this plane. Some really basic lines. When we're converting from balsa to foam, there's a few liberties we're going to take because we have some considerations and some limitations with our foam. Our foam board's 3/16 of an inch thick. When we're at the back end, we need to be 3/8 of an inch thick if it's just two pieces of foam coming together, or it needs to be 9/16 of an inch thick if you're going to have the fin or the rudder down between the fuselage. So keeping that in mind, there's a couple liberties we're going to take. We may adjust the thickness of the fuselage at the rear. When we're looking at our stabilizers, our elevator, our rudder, we might make some changes to the basic configuration where they come together. At the nose, some of our considerations are the distance from the prop, the back of the prop, to the fuselage. Now, I know that if we were to build this plane and put the firewall right here, most of our electric motors are not as long as this distance from the firewall to the back of the prop. So we're going to make a small change there. It helps if you know which motor you intend to use. You can go to places like Hobby King, look it up. It'll give you all the dimensions of the motor, and then you'll have something to plan with. Something else we want to consider before we start tracing our fuselage is where we're going to mount the motor. We've already talked about the length of the can. This plane's going to be too small to be swappable on a full-size pod. With a 30-inch wingspan, it might be a little bit big for a mini, so I'm not going to use a mini pod in here. I'm just going to make a fixed firewall. Knowing that I have on hand some FT firewalls that are 2 inches wide, and I'm too lazy to cut stuff down. I just want to make sure that as I lay out my fuselage, my inner diameter 2 inches wide to accommodate that firewall. And what we'll do is we'll start by making some reference lines. We're just going to come to where we find the nose of this fuselage, and we want to go on the green axis straight up through our top-bottom view, and then we're going to do the same thing at the rear, and all we have to do is come to the line back here, straight up on the green axis. Now as we do our shapes, we know that our fuselage parts are going to be the same size, fit in the same area. Alright, we'll do the top-bottom view first. What we'll do is we'll start with a center line. From here, at the back, we know that we want to be 9/16 of an inch, so we're going to go, half of that is 9/32. We're going to measure up from here, 9/32 of an inch. We know that from here, we want to go over 1 inch for our inner diameter, so 1 3/16 will make the outer diameter. Alright, we can start by drawing some lines. Something else we're going to do here, at the front, you notice the inside is straight and the outside is curved. Rather than trying to make the foam curve for this, we'll double up the thickness, and then if we want to make that shape on the outside, we can sand it, or we can just leave it 2 layers thick. Either way, it's up to us. So we'll start here, and we'll come back to just about the point where the fuselage starts its fold back, go from there to this point. Now what we've got is half of the fuselage. Copy that, move it on the green axis, flip along green, and bring it back together. Get rid of that line. That's our top bottom view. Now we did the top bottom view in half because it's a symmetrical left and right. We can do the bottom, we can do the side view in one piece because we're not symmetrical top and bottom. And I'll just start with some basic lines. Like I said, the reason I chose this plane, nice basic lines, not a lot of complex shapes. I'll show you how to model some of the more curvy fuselages. In the next plane we'll get into something a little more complex. And here again we're going to use that Bezier curve. Pull that up, get rid of that, and we'll start working on this top half here. Go from here right there. And again with the Bezier curve. I don't like that too much. We'll delete this. Try again. And I like that a little better. Get rid of our guide there. Now this is where things get, oh, that was stupid. Things get kind of simple. All we have to do is rotate this, stand it up. Oh, I'm going to undo that because I wasn't on my axis. Green axis. I want to make sure it's on blue axis. There we are. Now all we have to do is extrude that upwards. Extrude this way. Take all these things, intersect our faces, delete the unwanted geometry. And we've got a basic fuselage ready to go. And we're working on it. We won't need this one. Now right now this is just the outer skin. I'll show you how to proof this, doing our extrusions, give us our score lines, all that stuff. We'll get to that in a few minutes.